Hello. This is the Bible History School. This is the 6th hour of Revelation and world history. Last time, we learned that the number of the highest power holders during the existence of the Soviet Union was 7. So we tried to figure out if these 7 Soviet power holders were the seven-headed beast mentioned in the book of Revelation. To confirm this time we will delve a little deeper into the reality of the Soviet Union. Chapter 1, Section 7. The Establishment and Dissolution of the Soviet Union. The October Revolution of 1917 in Russia succeeded and the Russian Soviet regime was established. However, it did not immediately become the Soviet Union. In 1922, the head of the Central Committee was Lenin. On April 2, 1922, Stalin was appointed as the party's general secretary, but less than 2 months later, on May 26, Lenin suffered a stroke. When Lenin could not attend the Central Committee or the Kremlin, the Secretariat's agents took the lead in establishing policies for the entire country. And the final decision-making authority was held by the General Secretary, Stalin. The Soviet Union was established in December 1922, when the Transcaucasian Republic Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia and the 4 republics of Russia, Ukraine, and Byelorussia joined together to form the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. The Soviet Union, in some cases, such as the cases of Ukraine and Byelorussia, unification occurred through gradual and peaceful means, while in others, such as Georgia under the Menshevik rule, unification occurred through invasion by the Red Army. As a result of this invasion, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan were united to form the Transcaucasian Soviet Socialist Federal Republic. On this basis, the 10th All-Russian Congress of Soviets held in December 1922 concluded a federation treaty between the 4 Soviet Socialist Republics, establishing the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. After that, if you add the additional republics that joined after World War II, the Soviet Union consisted of 15 republics in total: Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. The year the Soviet Union was established was 1922, and the year it was dissolved was 1991. So it has been exactly 70 years if you calculate it by years. Readers will already see something at this point. The number of the most powerful people in the Soviet Union is 7. The seven-headed beast. The 70-year lifespan of the Soviet Union, the 70-year reign of Babylon. This is why I have focused on the true nature of the Soviet Union. While interpreting the book of Revelation, this is only the beginning of knowing the true nature of something. To know the main body, you have to fit all the remaining pieces of the puzzle together. Let's go into it and take a closer look to see if this Soviet Union is indeed the seven-headed beast that appears in the book of Revelation. Chapter 1, Section 8. 5 have fallen, 1 is. Let us look at the words of Revelation chapter 17, 9. Here is a wise thought. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits, and they are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain a little while. The beast that was and is not is the 8th king, who is of the 7, and he goes into destruction. Revelation chapter 17, 9-11. The present tense of 5 have fallen, 1 is, refers to the period when the 6th ruler is in power. Therefore, all scholars who interpret the book of Revelation have recognized this verse as the period when the book of Revelation was written while the 6th ruler was alive. However, if we understand the text carefully, we can see that the present tense here is the present tense of the entire prophecy. That is, the entire story of the book of Revelation. In other words, we can see that the period of the sixth king's reign. Among the 7 rulers of this beast, nation is the present tense of the entire text of the prophecy. This fact is also a task that must be verified in the process of interpreting the text. 5 have fallen. The era of the 5 rulers, Lenin, Stalin, Khrushchev, Brezhnev, and Andropov, is over. 1 exists. The current period is when Chernenko is ruling. The other has not yet arrived. But when he does, he will certainly continue for a short time. The 7th ruler is Gorbachev, and his power will not last long. Here, the 6th ruler, Chernenko, is not a very important person. In fact, his reign was the shortest. However, the reason the 6th in the text of the prophecy is the present tense is to emphasize the description of the final ruler, who will bring about the fall of the empire. Using the present tense as the time before the 7th ruler, the last person, ascends to the throne. We must now solve a crucial problem. We must find out who the 8th king is, who is among the 7 heads. Chapter 1, Section 9. The 8th king. Let's look at Revelation chapter 17:11 again. The beast that was, and is not, is the 8th king, and is of the 7. And he goes into destruction. Revelation chapter 17:11. The beast from the sea has only 7 heads. However, here, another king, the 8th king, appears. Does that mean that there are 8 people with the highest authority in the empire? If that's the case, the number of the highest rulers of the Soviet Union is 7. Which does not match the exact appearance of the beast. According to the text of Revelation, there is an 8th king. But including this 8th king, the beast has 7 heads. However, this 8th king is said to be one of the 7. The supreme rulers of the Soviet Union all succeeded to power when their predecessors died. The only one who can become the 8th king among the 7 is the 7th king. In other words, the 7th king, Gorbachev, will become the 8th king again. Here is the secret. In the part where it says, was, but is not, the part where it says, now is the time. It is the same as the part where it says 5 are gone, 1 is. In other words, the present tense, used in the same paragraph is when the 6th king is ruling. Was, but is not, refers to the political attributes that the supreme ruler possesses, depending on whether the power structure of a country is a monarchy, a presidential system, or a cabinet system. The supreme ruler is determined. The political and official title of the person in power in the beast kingdom that appears in the book of Revelation is very different from before and after. For example, after Chairman Kim Il-sung died in North Korea, Kim Jong-il inherited the power, but the official title that Kim Jong-il holds is only Chairman of the National Defense Commission, although there is a separate formal head of state under the Constitution. It is a well-known fact that Kim Jong-il is the actual person with the highest power. In the Soviet Union, the highest power holder has been the Secretary General of the party since Stalin. In 1922, when Stalin was appointed Secretary General of the party, the actual person with the highest power was Lenin, who served as chairman of the Supreme Council. However, after Lenin collapsed from a stroke, Stalin exercised the actual power, and from then on, the Secretary General of the party became the actual person with the highest power in the Soviet Union. In terms of the Soviet power structure, the highest state organ of the Soviet Union is the Supreme Soviet, or Supreme Council, which consists of the 2 chambers of the Soviet Union and the Soviet of Nationalities. The Supreme Council elects the Presidium at a joint meeting of both chambers, and its chairman is considered the head of state of the Soviet Union. During the period when the Supreme Council was not in session, the Presidium exercised its power. The Supreme Council organized the Council of Ministers of the Soviet Union, At a joint meeting of both chambers, and its chairman was the Prime Minister of the Soviet Union. In theory, the highest decision-making body of the Communist Party is the Party Congress. But this is only held once every 5 years for about 10 days. The Central Committee, which is elected at the Party Congress, directs all activities during the period when the Party Congress is not in session, and elects the Politburo, Secretariat, and Secretary General of the Central Committee. Therefore, in reality, this Central Committee can be said to be the highest organ of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and its core is the Politburo and Secretariat, and the Secretary General is the one who leads them. Therefore, in the Soviet Union, the Secretary General of the Communist Party was more important than the nominal head of state, the chairman of the Presidium of the Supreme Council, or the chairman of the Council of Ministers, who was the equivalent of the Prime Minister. Now, the question is, who is the eighth king? The most highlighted part of Chapter 1 of Revelation and World History. He is the person who leads the Red Empire to destruction. The eighth king is Gorbachev himself, the seventh king. The other has not yet come. But when he does, he will certainly remain for a short while. This means that when the first king ascends to the throne, he will certainly maintain the previous form of power for a short while. Gorbachev also rose to the position of the highest authority in the Soviet Union as the Secretary General of the party. The eighth king is not the king as the Secretary General. Who was the king up to the seventh? In March 1985, Gorbachev was elected as the General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, and in May 1989, he was elected as the President of the Union by establishing the presidential system. Here is the secret. What does it mean that the seventh king will continue for a while? Gorbachev briefly maintained his position as the highest authority in the Soviet Union, as the General Secretary of the party, and then transitioned to a de facto one-man ruling system, called the presidential system, and ascended to the position of the President of the Union. He ascended to the position of another king, with a different power structure than the previous 6 kings. Gorbachev ascended to the highest position of political power, as the President of the Union, not as the 7th king's title of General Secretary of the Communist Party. There was, but now there is no more, refers to a ruling system in which a single head of state, like a king or president, runs the government. Here, the point is when the present tense of now is. Since the time when the 6th king is ruling in the text, 5 have fallen and 1 remains. Should be considered the present tense of the entire text of the prophecy. Up until the 6th king, Chernenko, he acted as the party secretary and the highest authority in the country. In terms of the law and power structure, the power system by a single commander-in-chief like a king or president is explained as, not now. The party secretary became the highest authority in the Soviet Union, after Stalin became the first party secretary and formed the Soviet Union in 1922. There were single-person powers like kings before the Soviet Union. The Tsar was that. While the beast state, the Soviet Union, was in power, that is, until the 6th ruler. The one-man ruling system like the king disappeared, but it was revived when Gorbachev, the 8th ruler of the Soviet Union, became the head of state as the President of the Union. He will go into destruction. This means that this beast kingdom will be destroyed, while the 8th king is in power, and in fact, the Soviet Union was destroyed during the term of the 8th king, the President, Gorbachev. In March 1990, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and the 3 Baltic countries declared independence. Gorbachev, who was concerned about the dissolution of the Soviet Union, came up with a new plan, the Union of Sovereign States, which was different from the existing Soviet federal system, to resolve this crisis. Thus, Gorbachev proposed a compromise plan called the New Federation Treaty. on November 15, 1990. This was a form in which the authority of the existing Soviet Union government was largely transferred to each republic, so that each republic would have more political sovereignty than before, and the Soviet Union would actually have only the role of an economic integration body and the authority to handle defense and foreign affairs. Due to these political actions of Gorbachev, a coup d'état took place on August 19, 1991, led by hardline conservatives who were concerned that these measures would actually bring about the collapse of the Soviet Union. However, due to the leadership of Yeltsin, who became the directly elected president of the Russian Federation, and strong opposition from Western countries, the coup ended in 3 days. After that, Gorbachev resigned as General Secretary of the Communist Party and declared the dissolution of the Communist Party. But he was unable to rebuild the empire that had already begun to collapse. Finally, on December 25, 1991, Gorbachev resigned as President of the Soviet Union and declared the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Coincidentally, this day was the day that Western churches celebrated as Christmas. For reference, Christmas celebrated by the Russian Orthodox Church is on January 7th. During the Cold War, the Red Beast, called the Soviet Union that had made many countries tremble in fear of communization, disappeared into history. Although it was expressed as the eighth king, it was already said that the beast had 7 heads when describing its appearance. In other words, we can see that there were only 7 people. The 8th king is the one who belongs to the 7, that is, the 7th king, Gorbachev himself. And the expression 8th king refers to the legal form of power, which is the attribute of the powerful. We are finally peeling off the secret shell of this 7-headed beast, one by one, in order for the interpretation of the identity of the 7-headed beast revealed. This time to be correct. There is one more task left. That is, it will be certain only after the identity of the 10 horns that appear in Revelation chapter 17, 16 is revealed and compared. Next time, let's dive into the abyss of the prophecy to find out about who do these 10 horns refer to. This was Bible History School. Thank you very much.